All right, guys, I am back again. The last video I did was very choppy, and so I had to pull that one back in. So, hope that you can jump on and join me. This is Crown of Glory. I'm Leah Simmons, and I am here to talk about beware of the counterfeit. And so, I want to just share with you an experience that I actually had just recently as I was a man of God came into my back channels. My DM is what I guess the folks call it. And so I just wanted to share. The Lord was saying that we have to be sober minded during this time. We have to be very vigilant, and that we have to realize that we do have an adversary. We have the enemy, the devil, that is seeking whom he may devour, right? And so the Lord began to talk to me about vetting and vetting and why vetting is important. And so when you're dating, vetting is just gathering information, right? You're gathering data is what you're doing. And so it's so important as God's daughters and even the men of God to gather that information. We're gathering that information so we can be wise in decisions that we are making. And so I had a man of God to come into my back channels, and just small talk is what it was. But he was noticing things on my Facebook page. He is a friend on Facebook, and in my story is where I put a lot of things at in Facebook. And so he was responding occasionally from time to time. And it actually started as I went back and looked at my messages. I realized that it actually started at the beginning of the year. And he was just wishing me a happy new year and that type of thing. And so I'm a person, I'm very cordial. He's my friend on Facebook. I don't know him personally. So it was like, yeah, we're open to however God may bring that kingdom spouse to you. It could be internet, and we know that many have found their special one in social media, and just sometimes the old fashioned way. And so I'm not putting God in a box in regards to how he wants to go about doing that. But anyway, the man of God was in my inbox, and just once again, just small talk is what was happening. But something happened just recently within the last couple of days, and the Lord told me to jump on and to talk to his daughters about making sure that they're asking questions, making sure that you are vetting the person that you are talking with. Just don't go on what they're saying and be so in this fantasy world that you're not asking questions, because there are certain questions that you need to ask. That red flags, there are red flags in this dating thing. All right, guys. So let me just read you the definition of vetting. It says, make a careful and critical examination of something. We know that in the employment arena, in that world, your employers vet you. They employ you if you're a potential employee, a potential employee. They're looking at your resume. They're looking at what you're going to bring to the table, right? And so all of that is all written out on a resume. But when you're face to face, or just texting people, then it's based on what they may say and may not say to us, right? And so it's important that you're asking questions. It's important that you're screening them. It's important that you scrutinize, even for that matter. But it's about investigating. And our time is precious. I know that my time is precious. And so an employer don't want to waste time, and they don't want to waste money. And that should be the same for us, getting ready to go into the dating arena. We don't want to waste time or money. And so vetting also is about us making, that careful and critical examination of something. It's about investigating. It's also about us making sure that we're spending our time wisely with people that we may be talking to, whether social media, wherever it may be, because the counterfeiters are out there, and the counterfeit normally approaches you first. And so when you read the story of Abraham and Sarah, you see that the counterfeit, Ishmael was the counterfeit. That was something that Sarah decided that she was going to help God, right? She was going to make sure she get an heir. Gave Haggai to Abraham. And so that's the counterfeit, right? He's not the promise, in other words, and God has a promise for you, and you want to wait on your promise. So let me get to the man of God that was in my back in my DM. And as we were talking, chatting, small talk, he lived in another city from where I live at. He is under people, the ministry that he's under is people that I know. And so we were talking about things of that sort. And, but I did ask a question because I felt led by the Spirit of the Lord to ask the question. And good morning. Not sure where you're at, but it's evening here. And so, or afternoon. So I asked a question, and the question that I asked, as we were chatting, I asked a question. I says, "Hey, are you a widower or are you divorced?" And or divorcee, right? And he ignored that question. I guess he wasn't ready to answer that question yet. And so I realized that he had ignored it, and I on because we were still chatting, and we'll continue on chatting with him. And so it was interesting because he then was ready to get off of the back channel, and that was fine. And he was going to call it a night. And I says, "Great, have a great night." And but the next day, and I didn't get that question answered that evening. Next day, what happened was I was led by the Spirit of the Lord in regards to putting up my book cover, because I'm writing a book. Shalom, Jessica. I'm writing a book, and the book is called A Future Wife. And as I'm writing this book, I need to upload it by April. And so the Lord said, "Put the cover of your book cover up." And I put it on my Facebook page, and the man of God DM'd me again, and this time he actually responded to my question. And so, women of God, I want you to be very, very aware that your counterfeit, the counterfeit will come first. He may not come just once, he may come several times. And it's important that you are vetting them. It's important that you are asking questions, that you are gathering data as you are talking with them. And so, what he asked me the next day, he says, "Woman of God, would you pray for my marriage? Would you pray for reconciliation concerning his marriage?" And I could have lit right into, I could have said, "What are you doing in my back message?" And that's a legitimate question, right? What are you doing back there? And why are you having this conversation with me? And you know that you're married. And so, but what was real interesting, I waited to listen to the Holy Spirit, and God says, "Yes, pray for his marriage, pray for restoration." God is all about marriage, and I know that God is not getting ready to give me someone else's husband. I'm not going to even receive someone else's husband, for that matter. But because God doesn't do that. So I said, "Yes, sure. I will definitely be praying for restoration concerning your marriage." And that said to me that he wants his marriage. And so I did. I released a prayer. After we had gotten off, I released a prayer in all sincerity in regards to his marriage, because he wants his marriage to work. And I believe that God wants his marriage to work. So what I'm saying to us as God's daughters is that we have to make sure that we're vetting. We have to make sure, even ask the question that maybe sometimes we want to hear the answer to, but I know that I do, because I desire to be married. I'm not looking to just date you. I'm looking to be married. And so because I'm desiring to be married and God is going to send me my husband, then I'm going to make sure that I'm asking the right questions. And one of the questions that we need to make sure that we ask, even up front, that we don't, right now is just what, general conversation, and that's fine. It's great, that you've got someone interested in you, and it's great to have a conversation with the opposite sex. All of that is great, but eventually you've got to ask the question: are you married? Are you a divorcee? Or are you I didn't even think to ask him if he was married. I just thought that he was a widower, and that he was or a divorcee. He has grandchildren. He has two daughters, and he has a couple of grandchildren, and I do too. And so, we were talking about that. And so I wasn't expecting, I guess, was married to still be on, right, to someone else's DM. And so what I'm saying is that that's why you have to ask questions, because even married men will come and try to flirt with you, try to have this conversation, try to date you already married. And so we've got to vet them, to ask necessary questions. And it is great that someone's interested in you, but you need to know really we need to know some history about them, is what I'm trying to say. And so I felt that the Lord was really telling me to come on to let his daughters know that they need to vet them. And it's just, vetting is about gathering data. I've been hearing this word. I've been in human resources, but I hadn't been doing that for a long time. And so, you hear this new language, and I says, why are they talking about vetting someone, and dating and get to knowing people or whatever? And all it is gathering data. And so that's what you want to do. You want to gather data. You want to make sure that you're sober minded at this time. God is sending covenants that God is creating to happen, right? Covenant relationships, and marriage is a covenant. And so you want to make sure, and the thing that you want to make sure of is that this is the one that God has sent for you. So I just want to, I just jumped on to just share that with you, that to make sure that it's the one that God has sent. And in order for you to know if this is the one that God has sent, you've got to be in the center of God's will. You need to have God in the center of your life. And so even when you're collecting data, even when you're conversating with those men of God that may come in your direction, you want to make sure that God is centered. And when God is centered, then what happens is that we always go back to God. God knows everything, right? God knows everybody. And so when you're not sure, we always go back and ask God, who is this person? And who is this person to you, God? Right? And God will let us know, so that we do not waste time. We could waste time just dating people and just trying to get to know them and that kind of stuff. But time is of essence to me, and time is very valuable to me. And so I just wanted to share that with God's daughters on today. Make sure that you're vetting them, and make sure that God is at the center. Make sure that you are sober minded in regards to that which you're interacting with the man of God that are coming in your DMs, or then you're meeting. You're wanting to make sure God is front and center in all of that which you are doing, that you don't waste time, don't accept it, but that you are truly waiting for the promise. And God wants you to have his promise. So I want to leave that with you. I see Jessica, Lord, help us hear your voice. It's better to wait longer than to marry wrong. And I truly, truly agree with you, Jessica, on that. And some of us have been waiting for a long time, and so some of us may be a little anxious. But I want to say, be anxious for nothing, but in prayer and supplications and with thanksgiving, make the request made known to God, and that's what we need to do. God, is this the one that you have sent? And then listen to God. And we as women are very emotional, and so because we're emotional, we'll get connected. They'll become this soul tie because of our emotion, right? The way he talks to us, or the things that he may say, and all of that. And so we connect immediately with people emotionally. Men normally connect physically, and so we want to make sending. I'm pausing. I pause for a minute because the unstableness of the internet, and that is what happened with the first take. But anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and leave that with you. I didn't want to be on long. You I paused only because of the internet. It was saying it was a bad connection. So gladness, it may require you to fast. It may require you to fast to get an answer. And sometimes when we emotionally connected to someone, sometimes we won't hear God because our emotions are in the way. And so I would suggest that go on a fast, ask God, how many days you may need to fast, and do that fast because you're trying to get an answer from the Lord, right? And if God is silent on it, then just continue to wait on the Lord. It's okay. Wait on God, because God's going to strengthen you even in the wait. And so, guys, thank you. For joining. Thank you for jumping on, Harriet. Hello to you. Thank you for your comments. I really, really appreciate your comments when you join. I just ask that you like and subscribe to the channel. I did a video earlier on the same subject, but it was so choppy that I had to delete it. And so I try to come back and make sure that I'm capturing the same thing. And so once again, make sure that you're very sober minded during this time, because your spouse is coming. That kingdom spouse that God has for you, that person is coming. But let's be sober minded in this season that we are in, waiting on that spouse. I don't want to connect with someone that I'm gonna regret, right after I marry them. And I know that God would, if I keep it before the Lord, that I will make the right decision. God will give us the wisdom that we need to make the right decision in regards to that spouse. And they choose us, right? But then we also have a choice as well, if we're going to say yes to their proposal, or even saying yes to the next step, which is really courting with one another. So, guys, be blessed. I'll come back again when the Lord gives me something else to share with you. And thank you very much for sharing. and subscribing. And I will see you again.